On the title of this video, you may have some questions. This is a video I've been mulling over for quite a while. I mean, I even wrote a script, 1,000+ word script, so you can see I'm pretty serious about this. Anyway, let's get into the video. Also, if you didn't know, CBeebies is a British TV channel that's for under fives, that's by the British government but not specifically controlled by it apart from a few guidelines. Anyway, moving on. So I was watching CBeebies one day, as you do, and I noticed something. That something being that CBeebies shows really weird, especially when you watch it without volume. Just try it. I guarantee you will be extremely confused and have no idea what's going on. But also, I noticed something else. Something that will shock and surprise you. Something you definitely will not have figured out from the title of this video. CBeebies is communist. But not just CBeebies, not just the BBC, and not even just the whole of British television, but the government itself. It even stretches out to the entire rest of the world. But we can't really explain these bigger targets without first laying the groundwork for our investigation. So let's start with CBeebies. Now, this may sound like a stretch, but think. If there are any morals that CBeebies tries to teach, what are they? I don't know about you, but I think of three things. Sharing equally, and by extension, teaching that greed is bad, treating everyone as equals, and individuals working together to make the community better for everyone. Now that sounds pretty communist to me. Now you may be thinking, isn't that just basic human decency? Aren't we programmed to act like that anyway? Isn't that just being kind? But maybe, just maybe, we were conditioned into thinking that way. Maybe we've been brainwashed by the government into thinking that communism is good by this seemingly innocent TV channel. But it might be that you aren't convinced, that you need me to cite some evidence. And luckily for you, I have some. Now, if you're at all aware of Britain's parties and their beliefs, then if you hear Labour, you'll most likely think socialism, a watered down version of communism, if you didn't know. Now, look at the data for the 2017 general election. The younger generations are voting more and more Labour. In fact, if every age demographic voted the same amount, we would have a Labour government. But it goes further than just that. If we look at this data, it shows that the age at which people started voting predominantly Labour was 47 and below. This might seem insignificant, but let's wind back 47 years to the year of 1970. At this point, a revolutionary new piece of technology had just recently been adopted to the only 3 TV channels, 2 of which were BBC by the way, of British TV. That was colour television. This made TV quickly more and more popular with children. This is shown by the fact that later, in 1983, the first kids TV channel named CITV was born. This all culminated into the situation we have today, in which the younger generation and a lot of the older generation has had their beliefs controlled by not just the BBC, but ITV as well, as is evident by the convenient creation of CITV, in order to establish a socialist government and eventually a communist rule. This is all well and good, but why would they do all this? What do they have to earn? What is the motive? Well, in researching this, I've found that this rabbit hole goes deeper than I had ever anticipated. First of all, let's look at China. If we go to the wiki page for China-United Kingdom relations and scroll to the present day, as I did, you see something very interesting. In March of this year, there was a celebration for the 45th anniversary of diplomatic relations between UK and China. That number should ring a bell, because that's only 2 years after widespread colour TV, 2 years after the beginning of the conversion. Just 2 years after that, when the first children to have colour TV will have started to be turned, the UK sets up diplomatic relations with what is now one of the 5 remaining countries that is officially communist, and 3 out of the 4 other ones are on China's borders anyway. But I've still not gotten to my point, my thesis of the motive, and that is that the UK is secretly working together with China, building up a population of socialists who will turn to communism when the government does. Then they'll work together with their allies of Germany, Spain, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, who are all in diplomatic relations with China, by the end of the 70s, in order to destroy capitalism and take over the world. So, TLDR, World War III coming to a world near you because of a children's TV network. Surprisingly, I actually have more to say about this, including how Theresa May's puppet, the election is rigged, and why First Past the Post was chosen despite being a terrible voting system, and I might make a part 2, presuming I can never be bothered to record this. Although, if I'm reading this, then that means I was, and now this is getting trippy. Anyway, originally this was just going to be a short, funny little thing, probably only the first part of this, but I just kept finding more and more that pulled more and more to this theory, if you can call it that. Anyway, stay tuned and subscribe, because in a few months I might post another video, but don't get your hopes up, because I probably won't, because I am lazy.